Most owners notice their dog is aging after the fact. They look back at a photo from 2 years ago and see the difference. The graying muzzle, the slightly slower rise, the eyes that have changed in a way that is difficult to name, but immediately recognizable once you are looking for it. The aging was happening the whole time. The noticing came later. That gap between when the aging begins and when the owner sees it clearly is where this is about. Not to make aging frightening, to make it visible earlier so the adjustments that genuinely improve the quality of an older dog's life can begin before they become urgent rather than after. 8 signs, each one specific. Each one actionable. Each one a place where something you do differently in response makes a real difference to how she moves through the years she has left. The first sign is the hesitation before movement. She rises from lying down and there is a pause, brief, easy to explain away as her taking her time, before the first step. The stairs are approached with a moment of recalibration they did not used to require. The jump to the car or the couch includes a preparation that was previously automatic. These hesitations are the body pre-calculating the cost of a movement before committing to it. They are almost always musculoskeletal, joint discomfort, stiffness that has accumulated while she was at rest. The specific friction of an aging joint that needs a moment before it cooperates. They are early, they are real, and they appear in most dogs, significantly before any visible lameness or refusal to move. What helps? A conversation with your vet about joint support, appropriate supplementation, pain management if indicated, and the environmental modifications that reduce the demand on the joints she is protecting. Ramps instead of stairs. Orthopedic bedding, shorter, more frequent walks instead of one long one. Small changes that reduce the cumulative cost of daily movement. The second sign is increased sleeping and decreased initiative. She sleeps more. She initiates less. Less play, less exploration, less the behavior of a dog whose internal energy is generating surplus. She follows you through the house, but does not always get up when you move. She is present but requires more to become engaged. This is normal aging. The natural reduction of metabolic energy that comes with the years, but it exists on a spectrum that is worth monitoring. The difference between normal senior sleep increase and the sleep that signals pain, illness, or cognitive change is visible in the quality of the waking hours. A dog who sleeps more but is bright, engaged, and responsive when awake is aging normally. A dog whose waking hours also show reduced engagement, disorientation, or reduced responsiveness may be showing something more specific worth investigating. What helps? Preserving mental stimulation in forms that do not require high physical output. Scent-based enrichment, puzzle feeders, short, gentle training sessions that give her brain something to work on without asking more of her body than it can currently offer. The third sign is the graying muzzle and face. The most visible sign, and the one most owners recognize first, the silver that arrives in the muzzle and above the eyes and spreads slowly across the face over years. It is not a health signal. It is simply the pigment cells in the hair follicles slowing down, producing lighter growth in the areas where the aging process manifests most visibly. It is worth noting because many owners are surprised when it begins, which can be as early as 5 or 6 years in some breeds. The graying face is not illness. It is not suffering. It is your dog moving into the part of her life that deserves specific attention, not because something is wrong, but because her needs have changed and the adjustments she deserves work best when they begin before she is showing the other signs on this list. The fourth sign is changes in hearing or vision responsiveness. She does not respond to her name from across the house the way she used to. She startles at your approach when she did not used to startle. She seems less aware of things entering her peripheral field. She looks for the sound rather than immediately locating it. Sensory decline in aging dogs is gradual enough to be easily missed and significant enough to require adjustment. A dog with declining hearing is not ignoring you. A dog with declining vision is not being inattentive. And critically, a dog whose senses are declining is a dog who startles more easily, and a dog who startles more easily is a dog at higher risk of a fear-based bite from someone who approached without being detected. What helps? Approaching her in her visual field, rather than from behind. Using vibration, a gentle floor tap, to alert her to your approach when sound is less reliable. Keeping the household layout consistent so declining vision does not create navigation uncertainty in the space she has memorized. The fifth sign is altered appetite or drinking patterns. This is the piece most owners miss entirely. The dog who has always finished her bowl completely and now leaves some. The dog whose water intake has increased noticeably without an obvious environmental cause. The dog whose relationship with food has changed in either direction, more selective, less enthusiastic, or conversely hungrier than she has ever been. Changes in appetite and drinking in older dogs are worth a veterinary conversation, because several of the conditions most common in aging dogs, Thyroid changes, kidney changes, diabetes present first in altered eating and drinking before any other obvious symptom. The change is not dramatic enough to alarm. It is consistent enough, over weeks, to be a signal worth investigating. The sixth sign is the shift in sleep location or pattern. She has slept in the same place for years, and now she is choosing somewhere different. Lower, more accessible, away from the surfaces that require the jump she is beginning to avoid. Or she is sleeping more restlessly, changing position more frequently, taking longer to settle, rising from rest more often during the night. The change in location almost always indicates joint discomfort. The preferred position or surface has become costly enough to seek an alternative. The change in pattern, the restlessness, the frequent repositioning indicates the same thing from the other direction. She cannot find a position that is comfortable enough to maintain. What helps? Accessible, orthopedic sleeping options that she can reach without jumping. Warmth. Aging joints respond well to warmth. And the recognition that the dog who is no longer sleeping where she used to sleep is not being difficult. She is telling you the old arrangement hurts. The seventh sign is changes in social engagement. She is slightly less interested in interaction than she used to be. She solicits attention less frequently. She participates in household activity from a slightly greater distance. She is present, but the quality of the presence has a different texture, quieter, more observational, less initiating. Some of this is normal aging, the natural reduction of social energy as the years accumulate. Some of it is pain. The dog who is managing discomfort quietly directs less energy towards social engagement because her resources are occupied elsewhere, and some of it is the early presentation of canine cognitive dysfunction, the dog equivalent of dementia, which presents first in subtle changes to social behavior and environmental engagement before any more dramatic symptoms appear. The distinction matters because the first is managed with acceptance and appropriate adjustment, while the second is managed with pain treatment and the third with specific veterinary intervention that works best when begun early. The eighth sign is increased anxiety or confusion in familiar situations. She is anxious in places that did not used to produce anxiety. She seems disoriented in the house she has lived in for years, pausing in familiar spaces as if the layout has become uncertain. She appears to forget where the door is, or where she was going, or why she came into a room. This is the sign most worth taking to your vet promptly, because it is the behavioral presentation of canine cognitive dysfunction, a real progressive neurological condition that is significantly underdiagnosed. Behavioral observation of dogs with cognitive dysfunction has documented that early dietary, environmental, and medical intervention meaningfully slows progression in many dogs. The window for that intervention is early, in the subtle disorientation and mild anxiety, not in the advanced confusion. If you recognize these signs, bring them to your vet now, with as much specific behavioral detail as you can provide. The aging of your dog is not a crisis. It is a transition from one version of your relationship to another with different needs, different adjustments, different ways of being together that fit the years you have arrived at. What the 8 signs on this list are asking for is not grief. They are asking for attention, the specific, honest, undefended attention of someone who loves their dog enough to see the changes for what they are and respond to them for what they need. She is not disappearing. She is changing. And the relationship that changes with her, that meets her where she is instead of where she was, is the relationship she deserves in the years she has left. Has your dog started showing any of these signs? And is there one adjustment you have already made that helped her? Tell me in the comments. And please, if any of these signs resonated as something you are currently seeing, bring it to your vet. Earlier is always better. She deserves that. If this is the kind of watching you want to keep doing, subscribing means the next one finds you.